Part 1: The Blind Date Disaster. Mira had already decided the night would be a waste of time long before she walked into the restaurant. Her friend Sana had practically dragged her into it, insisting she needed to give life a chance instead of giving up on people. Mira had laughed at that. Give up? She hadn't given up. Life had given up on her first. After years of doing everything right, working hard, studying late, taking care of her sick mother, paying bills alone, fighting through the world without shortcuts, she had learned one thing: people didn't care about who you were inside. They cared about what you looked like, what you owned, who you impressed. She had gone on dates before. Boring, predictable, shallow dates where men pretended to respect her while secretly evaluating her like she was a job interview with no salary expected. She'd heard every comment. You're pretty, but don't you want to dress up more? You seem smart, but why don't you try being softer? You'd look great if you just. So this time, she wasn't playing dress up. She wasn't hiding her fatigue. She wasn't pretending she had the energy to compete with girls who had time for salons, lashes, and designer shoes. She wore what she wore every day: an oversized faded gray hoodie that belonged to her late brother, a pair of washed-out jeans with thread loose at the knee, and slippers that had been glued twice and still squeaked when she walked. Her hair was tied in a messy bun. No makeup, no jewelry, just the real Mira, unfiltered, unpolished, unimportant to most of the world. She knew the restaurant was the fancy type before she even saw it. The glowing sign, the luxury cars parked outside, the perfumes that followed every step, it wasn't her world. The moment she walked in, the stairs sliced into her like knives. One woman glanced at her, then at her diamond bracelet, then back at Mira like she was diseased. A waiter hesitated to talk to her, probably assuming she was lost or looking for a cheaper place. But Mira just lifted her chin and said the reservation name as casually as if she belonged there. Table for two, under Adrian. The waiter blinked, shocked, but nodded and led her through the maze of linen-draped tables, where every couple looked like they were posing for a magazine cover. She could feel the whispers, the judgment. She didn't care. She didn't want to care. Then she saw him, the man at the table. He wasn't scrolling on his phone like most men waiting on dates. He was sitting quietly, hands folded, looking at the entrance with a calm smile, like he expected something good to arrive. Adrian was nothing like she pictured. She'd assumed he'd be one of those sleek men who reeked of self-importance, but he wasn't. He was dressed well, yes, but not loud. His black suit was simple, his hair neat but not over-styled, his expression warm without effort. He looked up when he saw her, and instead of the disgust she expected, there was something else. A flicker of surprise, yes, but followed by a spark of curiosity, like she had just stepped off a different world and he wanted to know why. He stood up and pulled out her chair, and that shocked her more than the stares. No hesitation, no fake pause, no polite fake smile. You must be Mira, he said, voice steady, eyes steady. Mira sat awkwardly, waiting for the judgment to drop, but it never came. Instead, he simply asked, rough day, is this your rebellion outfit? His tone wasn't mocking, it was playful, light, like he wasn't offended at all, just intrigued. Mira raised an eyebrow, because people didn't usually handle her honesty well, but she said, I didn't feel like pretending today. If that's a problem, you're free to go now and save us both time. That was her shield. Push them away before they decide she isn't enough. But Adrian leaned back, studying her like she wasn't a mistake, but a mystery. I don't want you to pretend, he replied softly. I want you exactly as you are. Otherwise, this isn't a date, it's an audition. Mira wasn't used to answers like that. She didn't trust them. But she stayed. She ate. She spoke a little more than she expected to. She disagreed with him. She laughed once, and it surprised them both. She told him about her job. Not glamorous, just 3 part-time shifts that kept her afloat. She told him she didn't have time for fantasies or men who wanted a perfect accessory instead of a partner. Adrian listened without interrupting, without correcting, without offering fake motivational lines. He didn't flinch when she talked about struggle. He didn't frown when she spoke about exhaustion. And slowly, the wall she built around herself loosened, stone by stone, because for the first time in a long time, someone wasn't trying to fix her, they were trying to see her. But the world wasn't done testing her. When dessert came, the waiter approached nervously and said, "Sir, your usual card will be processed under the business account, right?" A slip of words, too familiar, too revealing. Mira froze. Business account. She glanced at Adrian, then at the waiter, and suddenly the pieces clicked. The suit, the calmness, the reservation under one name, no last name needed. The way the staff treated him with quiet respect. He wasn't just some normal guy. And when the waiter addressed him fully, "Mr. Adrian Hale, the CEO will want confirmation of," Mira stopped breathing. CEO. The entire restaurant turned again, but this time the weight wasn't on her, it was on him. He wasn't pretending to be simple. He was simple, in the way only powerful people could afford to be. And she suddenly felt stupid, underdressed, mismatched with the world again. She pushed her chair back, ready to leave, before she embarrassed herself further. "You didn't tell me who you were," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "You let me sit here looking like this while everyone stared at us." Adrian blinked, confused, then leaned forward. "Why would I care what you're wearing?" Mira scoffed. "Because people like you always care." For the first time, he looked sincerely hurt, not at her words, but at the world that made her believe them. And in that moment, she didn't realize the truth. He already knew her before she walked in. He already knew what everyone else didn't see. Part 2. The CEO who saw more. Adrian had seen Mira long before this date. Weeks earlier, he had been sitting in his car outside this same restaurant, taking a break from meetings when he noticed a young woman carrying grocery bags that looked heavy enough to tear her arms. Everyone walking past ignored an elderly woman struggling to carry her shopping. Everyone, except Mira. She didn't ask for attention, didn't record herself for the internet, didn't even look around to see if someone was watching. She just picked up the extra bags, walked the woman home, smiled, and left like it meant nothing. But it meant everything to Adrian. He had spent years in rooms full of people who faked kindness for networking points, who donated money only when photographers were present, who said the right words without ever doing the right thing. Mira was the opposite. Quiet goodness, unpolished, unadvertised, real. That moment stayed with him. So when his friend mentioned a blind date with a stubborn girl who didn't care about money or men, he said yes immediately, because he already knew she wasn't like the others. So when she tried to leave, embarrassed, he reached out and stopped her, not with force, but with truth. "Don't walk away because of a title," he said. "If you think I care about what you're wearing, then you didn't listen to anything I said, and I didn't come here for someone to impress me. I came here for someone real." Mira stared at him, breathing uneven, fighting years of built-in defense mechanisms. She was used to men who wanted to change her, not men who wanted to understand her. So she sat again. Not because she was convinced, but because she didn't know how to respond to someone who didn't fit the script she had memorized. The conversation shifted after that, not lighter, not heavier, just honest. Adrian told her he worked hard too, that being a CEO didn't mean life was perfect. He talked about pressure, expectations, loneliness, the kind you couldn't confess because people assumed success erased it. Mira talked about fear, the kind that came from knowing one bill, one accident, one bad month could destroy everything she worked for. Different worlds, same weight. They weren't equal in wealth, but they were equal in something more important: pain, resilience, survival. Hours passed. The restaurant emptied. The staff cleaned around them but didn't interrupt. Mira didn't notice anything except the way Adrian looked at her. Not like she was broken or unfitting, but like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve patiently. No judgment, no fixing, no conditions. And for the first time in years, she let herself imagine a future that wasn't just about surviving. Before they left, Adrian finally told her the truth, the full truth. "I didn't fall for your clothes," he said gently. "I fell for the person who didn't know anyone was watching." And that was the moment Mira's world shifted. Not because a rich man said something sweet, but because someone finally saw her the way she wished she could see herself. Not unwanted, not invisible, not lacking. Enough. She walked out of the restaurant that night not feeling out of place, but feeling something terrifying and beautiful: hope. She didn't know if they would work. She didn't know how their worlds would collide or clash. But she knew one thing. She no longer wanted to run from love just because she had only met the wrong kind before. And the CEO who could buy anything in the world walked beside her, smiling like he had finally found the one thing his money never could.